6 months ago, I uploaded my first ever ARG on this channel, and since then, I've gone down some pretty disturbing rabbit holes. From players being stalked in-game, to people disappearing without a trace, the stories kept getting darker. So today, I wanted to bring a few of these videos together and turn them into one full movie for you all to watch. So go grab a snack, get comfortable, and enjoy. I didn't mean to find this. One night, while scrolling through some old Minecraft forums, I stumbled onto something strange. A series of screenshots posted by a long-abandoned Reddit account. 20 screenshots total, all from one player's world. Their survival world seemed pretty normal, but their chat messages were what really caught my attention. At first, they seemed normal, just a player sharing their progress. But the more I looked, the more it felt like I was watching someone slowly unravel. The final message they left behind wasn't just odd, it was terrifying. And they disappeared right after. What happened to this player? Why did they vanish without a trace? I had to find out. The first screenshot appeared fairly normal, just a player named Alvin13 showing off a new Minecraft world he created. Just spawned in, looked like a cool seed, gonna gather some wood and build a small base near the water. Honestly, screenshot number 1 was fairly normal, nothing too out of the ordinary, so I moved right on to screenshot 2. Day 1 hut, lol, just need something to survive the night. And much like screenshot 1, this second one was really just basic as well. The player Alvin made a few wooden tools, dug some dirt, and made a small starter base near the water. A similar experience to any other player who have just started a new world. Nothing seemed out of the norm yet. And this pattern would continue up to screenshot 5, starting a mine, collecting some more materials, cave exploring. But that was until I clicked onto screenshot 6. You see, in the previous screenshot, number 5, Alvin is seen crafting a bed to get through the night. So in screenshot 6, he heads back up to his base, but this is when something pretty weird happens. Can't sleep, mobs everywhere, weirdly a lot more than usual, or maybe I'm just rusty. In this screenshot, Alvin is saying that there are too many hostile mobs near him to sleep. And if we look at the bottom of the screen, we can actually see the too many monsters nearby message very faintly, proving that what he's saying is correct. But, although Alvin is saying it seems like there's a lot more than usual, I actually disagree. Just by looking outside the door, we are able to see that there are only 4 mobs, which when taken in consideration, really isn't that many. And since we don't know what difficulty mode he's playing on, we can't really come to a solid conclusion yet to prove if something actually unnatural is going on, or if it's just an ordinary occurrence in the game. So to gather more evidence, I moved right onto screenshot 7, and surprisingly, things only got weirder. Screenshot 7 starts like any other. It's now morning, and Alvin is currently right outside the entrance of his mine. However, it wasn't until I read the message when things got strange. I thought I heard something down there, not even joking, like footsteps but echoey. Alvin is claiming that he hears footsteps coming out of his mine, and at first this seems pretty odd. What could possibly be making those sounds he hears? But then I realized that the footsteps are most likely just coming from some hostile mob that spawned down there, like a zombie or skeleton. And after taking a closer look, we can actually see that there's no torches lighting up the bottom of it, which almost confirms this theory to be true, due to monsters needing complete darkness in order to spawn in. And after solving that mystery, I moved right on to the 8th screenshot. At first, screenshot 8 looks like nothing too extraordinary is going on, just a picture of the scenic view of the forest outside of his base. However, then I read his message. Might just be in my head, but I feel like I keep seeing stuff like quickly moving every time I turn the camera. I'm probably just tired, lol, I don't know though. Now, unlike all the previous screenshots before this, I really didn't have an immediate explanation for this one. I did want to try pointing out that it could just be some mob he sees wandering around like a sheep or pig. However, the way he is phrasing it makes it seem like this can't be the answer. He says that he keeps seeing stuff quickly move out of frame every time he turns around, which doesn't really fit the description of any normal mob. All of them move relatively slowly. The only solution I can come to is that it's all just in his head and he's probably just paranoid, partially due to the other experiences before this. So looking for more answers, I continued on to screenshot 9, and this is where things got scary. Did I break this bed and forget? I swear it was right here. I slept last night. Now things are getting really strange. Alvin, now back at his base, has found that his bed has somehow vanished. I began looking back at all his other posts and realized something just as equally bizarre. We never actually see Alvin's bed in any of his screenshots. Could it be that he never actually had one? This would explain a lot. Maybe he truly is just tired and is forgetting that he never placed a bed in his base. The closest thing we have to it is seeing him in the process of making one, but we never actually see him craft it, let alone bring it up to his base. So, mystery solved. He never actually had one. He's just misremembering, right? Well, that's when I took a closer look and realized something terrifying. In screenshot 6, when all the mobs are outside of his base, I remember when he said he couldn't sleep, and by looking just above his hotbar, we see the message, "You may not rest now, there are monsters nearby." If you didn't know, the only way that this message appears is to try sleeping while there are too many mobs nearby, meaning that he must have had a bed. After realizing this, I literally got chills. And things only get even scarier in the next post, screenshot 10, when he says that he even asked his little brother if he went on his computer and messes his world, and his brother said that it wasn't him. But who knows, maybe Alvin could have broken it off camera, and just doesn't remember. I mean, that's really the only explanation I can think of. So not knowing where else to go from here, I clicked onto the following post, screenshot 11, and this was just odd. After the whole broken bed situation, Alvin decided to go mining to clear his mind. But while exploring in a cave, he noticed something peculiar. Found this while strip mining. It's not a cave. Looks like someone tunneled here. Maybe it's Herobrine. JK LOL. I think it's probably just world corruption or something. There appears to be weird tunnels, which look like long, narrow hallways. Alvin jokes around saying it could be Herobrine, a Minecraft myth which is known to leave weird anomalies in your world similar to this. But then he follows it up by saying it's most likely just world corruption. However, to put it plainly, world corruption just doesn't do this. Now, although world corruption can destroy massive chunks out of your world, it never leaves weird long tunnels as seen in the picture. These tunnels, oddly enough, look man-made. And despite spending hours trying to think of a possible reason for this, I just couldn't. I honestly even began thinking maybe it actually was his little brother just playing a lighthearted prank on him. And after looking at the next screenshot in the series, this theory does have some possible validity to it. In screenshot 12, Alvin is now out of the cave and was exploring his world when he came across a long trail of torches. Don't remember placing these torches, they go on for like 200 blocks. I followed them and they just stop. Maybe all of this truly was just Alvin's little brother. I mean, that really seems like the only plausible reason for all of this. The bed disappearing, the weird tunnels, and now these torches. I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense. So thinking that we finally put an end to this mystery, I continued to the next post just to make sure. And I had a name tag here, definitely didn't use it. I swear I remember it was right there, unless I'm going crazy. If this all just is his little brother, everything honestly does check out. His brother probably went onto his computer and messed with a bunch of things in his world, either to just troll him or trying to freak his brother out. And if it's the latter, then his little brother is obviously succeeding at this point. Alvin has become increasingly more worried and paranoid with every so-called oddity that he experiences. So for further verification, I went on to the next screenshot, number 14. And it's just Alvin outside staring at the moon, saying he's going to wait until morning to start making some more progress, jokingly saying it would be easier with a bed. And to put it frankly, this was the last screenshot before things quickly became straight up terrifying. Something really weird happened last night. This morning I woke up to the sound of my mom screaming and yelling in the kitchen. I immediately jumped out of bed and ran downstairs to see what was wrong. I asked her what happened and she said that while she was getting something from the garage, she found her car all scratched up on the sides. She then noticed that the side door, which was normally always locked, was left wide open. She said that someone must have broken in, but what's weird is that it looks like nothing from her car or garage was actually stolen. Very strange. And what makes it scarier is the fact that we were upstairs all asleep when they would have broken in. I really have no clue who would do this. We live in a pretty safe neighborhood and stuff like this never happens. She tried checking the front doorbell camera and it said there was movement in front of the door at 2 in the morning, but the camera didn't catch anything besides a raccoon, so who knows? I honestly didn't know what to think when I first read this. While Alvin and his family were asleep, somebody broke in. But the strangest part about this is that they apparently didn't steal anything. Why would someone break into a house just to not take a thing? Now, his mom did say she found her car all scratched up, but why would someone do this? What could have been their motive? Alvin did mention he lived in a relatively safe neighborhood, so break-ins like this didn't really happen often, if ever. He also mentioned the fact that their camera actually detected movement in front of the garage door at around 2 in the morning. However, they couldn't see anything besides a raccoon scurrying around, which was probably what set off the camera in the first place. But this now leads us into a bigger mystery. Who was this that broke into their house? What would cause someone to do this? And is all this somehow connected to what's going on in Alvin's Minecraft world? Left with more questions than I had answers for, I continued on with Alvin's next post, screenshot 16, and this was bone-chilling. Alvin was still inside his base, just like the last post, but it was a message that caught my attention. Okay, now I'm freaked out. Remember how I said someone broke into our house? Well, it's been a few days, and now we just found something really weird. It was like 1 in the morning. I had just logged off my Minecraft world when I heard a huge crashing coming from what sounded like outside my house. The rest of my family was asleep, and I was debating going downstairs to check. After building up the courage, I quietly went downstairs and looked out the window, but I found nothing. I didn't see a thing. I made sure all the doors were locked before going back upstairs. I tried going back to sleep, but just couldn't. I was just too nervous, especially considering what had just happened a few days ago. When the rest of my family woke up in the morning, I asked them if anyone else heard the sound, but they said they were all asleep. I told them what happened, and they all agreed that it was probably just some animal. I really don't think so though. I'm still pretty spooked from this, so I'ma just take it easy for the rest of the day. Probably won't post again until tomorrow. In the middle of the night, while the rest of Alvin's family was asleep, he heard the sound of a huge crash come from outside his house, which in retrospect could have just been a neighbor making some noise, but the fact that it was this early in the morning, paired with the previous event a few nights before, really makes me think otherwise. After building the courage to check out what the sound was, he didn't find anything. And after locking up all the doors, he went back upstairs to bed, but couldn't shake his nerves enough to fall asleep. After sitting up all night with nothing but his thoughts, he asked his family if they heard anything last night, but they unanimously all said no. He ended off his message by saying he probably wouldn't post again until tomorrow. It's clear that Alvin was now terrified, and for good reason. All the strange things going on in his Minecraft world, coupled with what's now going on in real life, at first I suspected it was just his little brother messing with him. But now? Could any of this all be connected in some way? I really have no clue what to think anymore. I felt like I had to find out more, so hesitantly I continued on to his next post, screenshot number 17. And this was where everything began connecting. I was just playing in the world, organizing the loot from my chest, when I went out to get some more food and swear I saw something out of the corner of my eye, like a very dark, almost blacked out figure. It looked like a player. I really don't know what it could have been. Maybe I'm just still paranoid from all the weird events going on in real life, the break-ins and the loud sound, but I can swear I actually saw this. Who knows, maybe it was just a glitch though, I don't know. I will update if anything else strange happens. Alvin was just playing in his world, doing some regular old housekeeping when he went out to get some more food and saw a very dark, almost pitch black figure out of the corner of his eye. At first, I was going to say this could have just been an enderman that he saw outside his house or another mob, especially since we can see the sun is just now starting to rise, but then I remembered something. This isn't the first time Alvin has claimed to see a dark figure following him around in his world. Back in screenshot 8, he described seeing something that kept moving away every time he tried looking at it. I don't think this is just some paranoia anymore. There's just way too many things going on, both in the game and real life, that add up. Maybe it's true. Maybe somehow the oddities in the game he keeps experiencing does, in one way or another, correlate with what's going on in real life. With no way to prove whether or not my theory was true, I went on to the next post, screenshot 18. I really don't think I can handle the stress anymore. This will probably be my last post I make playing this world. I'm gonna go for a walk and go get some lunch. Chances are this is my final post. It's just all these weird things in my world, and then now in real life, I really can't take it anymore. Sorry to everyone who I may have disappointed with ending this series. I'm still not sure, maybe I'll force myself to keep on playing, but probably not. Sorry guys. Alvin is desperate now for a break from all this weird stuff going on in both Minecraft and his real life. It's sad to see how much stress and anguish this has caused him. He even is considering quitting the game altogether at this point, saying he doesn't know if he can handle the stress of it anymore. We can see just how paranoid he has become, even going as far as barricading the door to his base. He says he will decide if he will continue on playing this world or not after he goes out for some lunch. And for a while, I really thought this would be the last post we'd be seeing from Alvin. After quitting, he'd at least be getting a little peace and quiet from the virtual problems. But to my surprise, he actually managed to somehow continue posting after all of this. Somehow Alvin pulled through, but maybe this wasn't a good thing after all. It's been like 40 minutes since my last post, but while I was heading back to my base, I promise you I heard footsteps in the game that sounded like they were following me. They weren't mine, obviously. I could tell they were what seemed like another player's. I paused the game immediately. I'm just freaked out right now. I don't know if I can continue to play this world anymore. I don't know if I'm just being paranoid or if it's just in my head or what's happening anymore. I really think there's something else in my world, and I just cannot prove it. It's terrifying me every day. This combined with the weird things going on in my life, I need to take a break from this really. I don't know if I'll build up the courage to continue playing. I will try, but I can't make a promise. We'll keep you guys posted. After thinking about it, he decided he would continue on playing. But just as he came back to his world, Alvin immediately began hearing footsteps again. And this time, they sounded like they were following him. After pausing his game immediately, he sat back to think about how he would move on from this. He knew he could quit the world for good at any moment for better mental clarity, but knew that he would be leaving behind many disappointed fans who had been following his post and journey in the game. If he did quit, all of his problems and worries in the game would be gone within an instant. But putting his fans first, he decided ultimately that he would, in fact, continue on playing. And he didn't realize it yet, but this would become his worst mistake ever. The 20th screenshot was the last post he ever made to his account, and as I began to read it, I realized just how terrifying Alvin's story truly was. I think it found me in real life. This was Alvin's final message before abandoning the Reddit account he was making all of these posts on. Just 6 haunting words. I think it found me IRL. What could this mean? Why was this his last message before seemingly vanishing off the internet, never to be heard from again? I had to find out. And prepare yourself, because this rabbit hole is only just beginning. After reading the final message, I didn't know what to do. For a week straight, I didn't make any progress towards solving this mystery. I just sat there, thinking about the gravity of the situation. Eventually, I decided that it was finally time to start working towards solving this mystery. I began by first looking at Alvin's Reddit account, where he posted all of these screenshots in hopes of finding maybe a little more information about him. However, after looking, I came to the realization that these 20 screenshots were the only thing he put on Reddit. No other posts, no bio, nothing. So that didn't help. But then I thought of something. Maybe we could try searching his username, Alvin13, on other platforms to see if he has any other profiles. But after looking up his username on all different social medias such as YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, there were no results. I still found nothing. Obviously, if we wanted to actually make progress in finding Alvin, we would have to dig a little deeper than this. So I began thinking of all the things I could possibly do, and that's when it hit me. We could try looking back at all of his Reddit posts with all the screenshots to see if we possibly missed something. And to put it frankly, I don't know if this will work, but it's really our last resort. Every little detail matters at this point. Maybe we'll find a clue, who knows. So starting back from square one, I began looking back and investigating all his screenshots. And initially I really didn't find anything too important. And it would remain that way for a majority of the screenshots. I would click on them, try finding some hidden clue, and after discovering nothing, would move on. But then, against all odds, I actually found something huge. It was on the 19th screenshot, a detail so small that I didn't even notice it until my 3rd time around. A detail hidden in plain sight, in front of our eyes, this whole entire time. Here, this is what the Minecraft pause screen normally looks like. It looks pretty ordinary, right? And this is what Alvin's pause screen looked like. You probably haven't even noticed it yet. Do you see how Alvin's screen says player reporting? Well, the only way to get that option to show up is by opening your world to LAN. And if you didn't know, when you open your world to LAN, it means that other players who are on the same network as you are able to join your world, basically making your single player world act as a server. And at first, this didn't seem like that big of a deal, but after thinking about it, I came to a horrifying realization. And please, just hear me out on this. What if all those weird things that were going on in his world was actually another player secretly logged into his world this whole entire time? And when you start adding up all the facts, it makes sense. Throughout this entire journey, one thing had remained persistent. Alvin would be playing in his world like normal, but then something just plain out strange would happen to him. Be it the broken bed, missing items, or the mysterious tunnels. Something weird was always happening. And sure, I'll admit it, at first I did think it was just Alvin's little brother messing with him. But then I realized that he also heard footsteps following him. and most importantly, kept seeing a strange, dark figure out of the corner of his eye. We can pretty much rule out that this was all his little brother at this point, especially considering that these things continued happening even when the rest of his family was asleep. Someone must have been secretly playing in Alvin's world alongside him, quietly following his every step, watching his every move. But why? And an even bigger question, who? So with more determination than ever to finally put this mystery to rest, I continued on investigating, carefully inspecting every minuscule detail, every pixel. And that's when I came to another horrifying discovery, one that literally gave me chills. You see, it was when I was looking at his 8th screenshot when I noticed something kind of odd. While zoomed into the image, scanning around for anything I could use as a clue, something stood out. In the bottom right corner of the image was what seemed like a zombie, but after zooming in a little further, I came to the shocking realization that this was no mob. This was someone. Someone was watching him. I sat there in shock for what felt like hours. Every fiber within my body was telling me not to go on, but after a while I finally mustered up the courage to continue on investigating. And that's when I came to an equally frightening revelation. I began looking back at all his other posts more closely than ever this time, and realized that whoever this player was, they were secretly watching Alvin in the back of almost every single screenshot. They were there when Alvin was mining. They were there when Alvin was in his base. They were there when Alvin was exploring caves, adventuring, gathering food. They were there always. It was now clear as day, all of those disturbing things going on in his world, the broken bed, the missing items, the tunnels, footsteps, the mysterious figure he kept seeing, it was all this player. But now that we finally have confirmation that there actually was a player following Alvin this whole time, that still leaves us with two huge questions. One, why were they doing this? And most importantly, two, who is this player? I decided that I would try finding out the second question first. Who was this player secretly watching Alvin this whole time? I began by looking back at all the screenshots, just try seeing if it was possible to make out a name tag above the player, to maybe find a username. But after zooming in on every single image, I realized that it just wasn't possible. The player would always be just far enough away from Alvin to the point where the name tag wasn't visible anymore. So that plan failed. And I realized that there wasn't really much else I could do. Without the player's name, it would be pretty much impossible to find out any more information about this player. So I began to think of what else I could possibly do to try to find out this player's true identity. And after thinking about it for a while, I realized something terrifying. Remember before when I said that opening a world to LAN allows players on the same network as you to join your world? Well, in order for this player to have joined Alvin, he must have been using the same internet connection, meaning using the same Wi-Fi, meaning that they must have been in the same house. Yeah, remember back in screenshot 15 when Alvin is telling the story about someone breaking into their house in the middle of the night, but never actually stole anything? It all makes sense now. Whoever this player was the same person who broke into their house all those nights ago, and that's why they never stole anything. This whole time this person only ever broke in just to use the internet connection to join Alvin's world. But why? And terrifyingly, this also means that this wasn't the only time this person has broken in. Remember when Alvin mentioned hearing a huge crashing sound from outside his house in the middle of the night? This must have also been the same person attempting to break in. This must mean that every time Alvin was playing in the world and experienced something weird happening, this person must have been simultaneously hiding away in his house, using it as a pathway to secretly connect to his world. And what makes this even scarier is the fact that Alvin only caught this person a couple of times, but who knows how long this person has actually been doing this, secretly breaking in order to spy on Alvin. But that now leads us into the next part of the mystery. We now know who this player is, but just why exactly are they going this far in order to spy on Alvin? And this is where the story gets darker. And once again, just hear me out on this, it will all make sense in the end. What if this whole entire time, this person has been breaking into Alvin's house, joining his world, following his every step in an attempt to stalk him? And I mean, it's not crazy. Why else would someone go through all this trouble and effort just to join someone else's game? Unless, of course, they were stalking them. Think about it. This person has been secretly following Alvin's every movement in the game, which means they would have also seen all of his messages, including the ones where Alvin becomes increasingly more paranoid and even goes as far as talking about the break-ins. Whoever this is, they know that Alvin is becoming suspicious, and they also know that their time's almost up. And this is where my dark theory begins. What if, this whole time, Alvin Stalker was waiting for the perfect time to strike? He's tracked him down in-game, broke into his house, read every message he typed. What if, knowing Alvin had become increasingly skeptical over time, they decided to silence him before he could get another word out about it to anyone else. And just what if this was his plan from the very start, to kidnap Alvin? I mean, why else would he be spying on Alvin, following his every move? And after seeing Alvin become more and more paranoid, he knew that his time was almost up. He was on the verge of being caught, so he decided it was either now or never. And this is all just a horrifying theory. We may never know the truth as to why Alvin actually disappeared. But pairing all of this with Alvin's last message, I think it found me IRL, I think it's now obvious. This message was Alvin's last-ditch effort, a final cry for help. He knew he had been found. He knew he had little time left before whoever this was would be taking him. Throughout this entire journey, Alvin had been leaving clues for the stalker to use. What time his family would be asleep, what time he left his house, his every thought. This entire time, Alvin had unknowingly been helping the stalker with his ultimate goal. And it gets even creepier when you consider the fact that Alvin's final post was made right around 3 in the morning, when the stalker knew that Alvin's whole family would be asleep besides him. And truthfully, although this is just a theory, I personally feel like there are just way too many things adding up for this to just be a coincidence. We may never get the full truth of what happened to Alvin that fateful night, but maybe that's for the best. I shouldn't have found this. It was 3 in the morning, and I was mindlessly scrolling through YouTube in my bed, but then a strange video popped up in my feed. The title was pretty vague and the thumbnail unedited, but something about it caught my attention. I clicked on it, and I really wish I hadn't, because this one decision would eventually lead us down a deep, dark rabbit hole. One ending with a player going insane and eventually disappearing from the internet. What happened to this player? Why did he seemingly vanish without a trace? We must find out. But before that, we must start where this all began. It all started with the first episode of 9, simply titled A Fresh Start. The player, Malum 6x3, had just began a new survival world and wanted to record his gameplay to post online. I'm gonna be starting a new Let's Play series. It will be fun, I think. Malum introduces us to his new world before saying that he'll be going off to get some materials. He chops down a tree and crafts some wooden tools before mentioning that he asked his friend to play with him, but he said he was too busy. Malum then proceeds to kill some animals, craft stone tools, and mine some coal ore before ending the first episode by collecting flowers. And honestly, episode 1 was fairly normal, nothing too out of the ordinary, so I clicked right on to the next one, episode 2, Exploring the New World. The second video began just like the first. Malum now had a few more resources and states that he's going to be trying to make some more progress this episode. He mines more wood, kills more pigs, before crafting a boat and sailing through the river in hopes of finding something cool. After rowing for a bit, he finally comes to land, and after searching for a bit, finds a cherry grove biome, which excites him as he's never actually seen one before. He talks about how happy he is and collects some more flowers before ending the episode. And similar to episode 1, this second video didn't really seem that interesting either. But surprisingly, that would all change in the next video, episode 3. Oddly enough, the third episode was posted a full 2 months after the previous ones, with the title reflecting that, being called Sorry for the Long Break, I'm Back. Naturally curious about why Malum had taken such a long break, I started watching the video to find out more. Episode 3 began with Malum greeting us, followed by the explanation for his lengthy hiatus. Hey guys, sorry for the long break. I've been dealing with some real life stuff recently and been pretty busy, but anyways, I'm back. Now, weirdly enough, his explanation for why he's been gone was pretty vague. He didn't really give us any information on why he's actually been away, besides for just saying he's been dealing with some things in real life. And unfortunately, with no other information, we really can't know for sure why he's been absent. So I continued on watching the video in hopes of coming across any new details that would help us in solving this mystery. And it really seemed like we weren't going to find anything else. He would spend the next few minutes killing tons of animals for food, but after realizing that he had no fuel to cook the food with, began traveling down a cave in hopes of finding coal. But this was when something straight up weird happened. You see, after going down the cave, Malum would find some iron ore sticking out of the wall. And after mining it, he would continue on deeper down the cave, and eventually he came across some coal to smelt his food with. So he began to walk towards it, but then, out of nowhere, Malum took a small stumble back, and then he froze. He just stood, perfectly still, just staring at the coal ore. And he would remain like this for a solid 5 minutes straight. It was only when a zombie slowly crept over and started to attack him, where he suddenly snapped out of this trance-like state back to reality. And after killing the zombie, he quickly mined the coal and rushed back up to the surface, with the episode ending only after he finally cooked his food. And obviously, like many of you, I was left completely baffled after watching this. Why did Malum suddenly just freeze up out of nowhere? What could have caused him to do this? I began watching back episode 3, looking for any clues or hints in the video that I might have somehow missed, but there was nothing. Nada. Zilch. And now, feeling more lost than ever, decided that I must continue on with the story. So I clicked on to episode 4, Building My House. Episode 4 started like any other. He begins the video by welcoming us back to the series, then says what his plans are for the episode. Today I'm gonna finally build a base. I'm surprised I made it this far without one. He walks a few blocks before pausing again, saying he needs to get a few more materials first. He begins heading down a hill to collect more sand near the riverbank, and after a few minutes, finally says he thinks he has everything he needs to begin building. So he travels back up the hill in order to craft all the materials that he'll need for his house. And it was around here when something a little odd happened. As Malum was getting all the items ready that he would be needing, he was about to take out some green dye which he had smelting in a furnace. But after opening it, he immediately closed it and began walking away. And what's even stranger is that after just a few seconds, he would turn back around to grab the green dye. And honestly, I really don't know why he did this. It honestly could have just been a mistake, and it probably was. So I just kept it in the back of my mind and continued on watching. Following this, Malum would go on to craft a few more materials for his base, including a concoction of black, white, and cyan concrete powder, and after heading back to the water to harden it all, would finally begin construction on his house. He began building his house by starting with the cyan walls, an odd choice for a starter base, but it was clear that he had obviously put some thought into the design beforehand, making sure every block was placed perfectly just where he liked it. Malum's house consisted of bright cyan walls, long twisting hallways leading to his room, a checkerboard pattern floor, a disorganized storage system, and a single painting hanging just above his white bed. And after just 10 minutes, he finally placed the last block to his house, the door. After finishing construction, Malum would go on to celebrate his new house, talking about how much he loves it and calling it perfect, before the 4th episode would ultimately end with Malum going to bed inside his new base. And quite frankly, this would mark the last normal episode before things quickly became terrifying. Episode 5, titled Looking for Diamonds, began relatively ordinary. Malum would start the episode as usual by greeting the audience, then would state his plans for the day. Today I'm going to try finding diamonds. I was on Reddit earlier and saw that the best Y level to find diamonds is -58. Malum would then immediately start digging straight into the ground towards Y -58, with his camera jittery with what seemed like excitement. After digging down for a few minutes, he would finally reach the correct Y level, typing, "I'm at Y equals -58 now, I'm going to strip mine." Malum would go on to strip mine for a couple of minutes looking for diamonds, but then something strange happened. After a few minutes of digging straight ahead, Malum would go on to abruptly jolt his camera to the left to begin tunneling a new direction. Which was odd, but hey, maybe it was just his intuition trying to lead him towards diamonds. But then, strangely enough, after just another couple of seconds of mining, Malum would, once again, sharply turn his camera towards a new direction. This time, his camera movements more jittery, like he was nervous. And after yet another few seconds, Malum would ultimately repeat the cycle once more by sharply jolting his camera towards the right. But this time around, he would, oddly enough, begin mining horizontally, almost like he was trying to find something. And after a few seconds of mining, something incredibly bizarre happened. After a few seconds of mining diagonally, Malum would eventually uncover some coal ore hidden within the deep slate. And after noticing it, he stumbled back, just staring at it for a few seconds. But then, after a few seconds of silence, it was like something suddenly snapped within him. He instantly began covering up the coal and then frantically started blocking up the twisted tunnels which he had dug out, trying to cover any trace left behind, like he was trying to hide the evidence as if he was never there. Eventually, he reached the point where he'd initially started and began towering up the hole where he dug down from, anxiously trying to escape from something. And then, the episode ended. This was bone-chilling. The episode began relatively normal, but then Malum, out of nowhere, suddenly started sprinting away, covering up his trails. It was as if someone was chasing him, but there was no one there. I now had a million questions racing through my mind. How will Malum act in the next episode? Will we find out what caused him to act like this? Just why was he acting so peculiar? And now, left more puzzled than ever, I hesitantly decided to click onto the 6th episode, desperate for answers. Episode 6, titled Trees and Animals, began differently than usual. Malum opened the episode in his base, but this time there is no greeting, not a single word. After exiting his base, he headed straight for a forest. After arriving, he began chopping down a tree, and then another one, and then another one. For the whole episode, Malum would spend his time cutting down every single tree he saw, combined with killing literally every animal that crossed his path. And oddly enough, as the episode went on, his movements only became more erratic, frantic, as if he was nervous, and he would continue this destructive pattern of cutting down trees and killing animals until his axe broke. And as he began heading back to his base, he noticed a small patch of flowers, much like episode 1. But oddly enough, this time he would only pick up the red ones. After arriving back at his base, he would enter through the door, but instead of following the corridor leading to his room, which he'd usually do, he instead just mined a hole through the wall straight into his room, avoiding the tunnels entirely. And then the video ended. Why didn't he go through the hallway, opting to break a part of his house instead? And it was here when I realized that Malum didn't say a single word throughout the whole episode. Not one message, which was definitely weird to say the least. Up until this point, Malum has always typed in the game chat, but why not now? Could this all somehow be connected to what happened in the previous episode? In hopes of actually finding an answer this time, I immediately went on to the 7th episode, titled Cave Exploration. And this was the strangest one yet. Episode 7 once again started inside his base. This time, while leaving his base, we can briefly see that Malum had oddly enough blocked off the original pathway leading to his room with cobblestone. This was definitely bizarre, however I really didn't know what to think about it yet. After exiting his base, he finally types his first message in a while. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm going to get more stuff. Returning to the same forest from the last episode, we can now see that there is not a single tree left standing. He clearly did more work off camera, but then, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted an exposed cave. He began carefully traversing his way down it. After reaching the bottom, he eventually hit a dead end, but this was where something incredibly disturbing happened. After reaching the dead end, he immediately, without hesitation, began desperately trying to escape. His movements now more erratic than ever, his camera shaking like an earthquake. He feverishly began placing blocks under himself, trying to tower up, to escape. Once reaching the surface, he hurriedly blocked off the entrance of the cave, shaking with every block. He then began sprinting back to his base as if he was late for something important. And this wasn't even the weirdest part of the episode. After arriving back at his base, he spontaneously began destroying his house, mining everything, block for block. He started with the cyan walls, then the roof, making his way down to the checkerboard floor. He destroyed every single block, ending with the door. It was now pitch black out, and Malum would spend the remainder of the episode just staring at what he had done, and then the video ended. This was the most peculiar episode yet. Every aspect of it was just filled with mystery. 1. Why did Malum block off the tunnel in his house? 2. What caused his outlandish reaction in the cave? And 3. Why did he suddenly destroy his entire base? I feel like with each mystery we're trying to solve, several new ones emerge. So on the edge of my seat, pleading for answers, I continued on to episode 8, titled Reinvention. And this one was just odd. The 8th episode began normally enough. Malum was in a boat, traveling down the river. I'm gonna make a new base, kinda restarting things, new scenery. After reaching the shore, Malum hopped out of the boat and began traversing up the rough terrain. After a couple minutes of traveling, he finally reached a spot he liked. This place seems good. After crafting a few new items, such as a diamond sword, iron hoe, and shears, he began exploring around the new area. He bred some chickens, sheared some sheep, and finally began construction of his new base. And at first, everything seemed normal, but maybe it was too normal. Malum's new base was built out of wood, had windows and an iron door. He finished off his base by adding a small wheat farm just outside and ended construction by saying how much he liked it. But then he said, I'm gonna go exploring the new area real quick. And he didn't know it yet, but this one decision would quickly become his worst mistake yet. After heading up the mountains, he took one more good look at his new base and began setting off. Maybe I'll find a village or something cool. However, after looking around for a few minutes, he still didn't find anything. I don't know if there's anything here. Saying that he's probably gonna go back and continue working on his new base. But right as he began heading back, he accidentally stumbled upon something. The place where his old base once sat. You could still see the exact spot it stood, marked by the impression in the ground. And he stood there, frozen, just staring at the past in front of him. And he would stand there, completely still, not moving a muscle for a solid 10 minutes straight. And that was until the episode ultimately ended. And honestly, this was just the saddest episode of them all. It had become painfully clear that Malum wasn't just wandering, he was trying to escape something. And for a brief moment, it seemed like he might actually succeed. After everything, he was finally starting to seem normal again, like the weight had started to lift off his shoulders. But then, by sheer accident, he stumbled across the ruins of his old base, a place he probably didn't even realize was so close. It was like opening a door he thought he'd locked forever. And just like that, all the progress he made began to unravel. And this was when I realized that there was only one more video in the series, episode 9. And weirdly, this one didn't have a title. There was no clues, no hints, nothing to prepare us for what was about to come. So reluctantly, I clicked, my heart racing with anticipation. And to put it lightly, this was horrifying. Episode 9 started instantly. It began with Malum running through a forest, as if something was chasing him. The splatters of rain and flashes of thunder illuminating the dark sky. His camera movement was now very erratic and jittery, as if he was shaking in real life. He frantically traversed up a hill, noticing a small patch of flowers before continuing his panicky escape. He ran by trees, taking fall damage every few steps, unsure of which direction to go. It was then where he spotted an exposed cave on the surface. Without a second thought, he began traversing his way down, losing tons of health in the process. After reaching a dead end at the bottom, he began digging inside the cave walls, tunneling. Every few steps he would block off where he came from, as if he was trying to cover his trail. He went up, he went down, he went left, right. He dug in all directions, just like a maze. It was disorienting. He would continue digging, chipping away at every block, getting deeper and deeper within the walls of the cave until his pickaxe broke. Initially, he froze, but then he started slowly panning around the room, taking in everything that had just occurred. He would go on to type just one more final message before the episode ended, staring deeply into the camera. I am Malum. And this was the last episode Malum ever posted to his channel. No other videos, no bio, not even a profile picture. There was nothing. He seemingly vanished off the internet after this final video. But why? And most importantly, for what reason was he acting just so strange? Is his disappearance somehow connected to all these weird things happening in his world? His erratic movements, the tunnels, the caves, destroying his base, randomly freezing for minutes on end. Is all of this, in one way or another, somehow connected? I felt like this mystery was pulling me deeper and deeper in. I had to find out what happened to Malum following his disappearance. And prepare yourselves, because this story is only just beginning. I decided that to start my investigation, I would begin looking back at all the episodes he posted in hopes of coming across any clues or details I might have missed the first time around. And for the first few episodes, I didn't find anything particularly extraordinary. Sure, there were some odd moments like when he suddenly froze mid-game just staring blankly at the screen, but nothing we hadn't already seen before. Nothing useful. Nothing that could actually move us forward. And that was when I realized that if we were going to find a real lead, something that actually mattered, we would have to dig a lot deeper than surface level. And that's when I found something in episode 5. Something that changed everything. You see, at first it didn't seem like there would be anything too useful here, but then I remembered something crucial. While Malum was typing out his message going over his plans for the episode, he mentioned something very specific. Today I'm going to try finding diamonds. I was on Reddit earlier and saw the best Y level to find diamonds is -58. This one clue may finally help us in putting an end to this mystery. Did you catch it? You see, in Malum's message, he briefly mentions that he was on Reddit earlier that day while looking for the best Y level to find diamonds on. chances are if Malum was on Reddit, he most likely has a Reddit account. And if he does, it would open up possibilities to find out more about him, and maybe, just maybe, what happened to him after he vanished. But then, I came to a depressing realization. When you Google the phrase best Y level for diamonds, the first result that comes up is a Reddit post. This means that there's a very high chance Malum was simply searching on Google, came across that post, and didn't even need a Reddit account to view it, which means that this whole thing might have been for nothing. So overflowing with anticipation at this point, I reluctantly closed out of the video and navigated my way towards Reddit, hoping that we would actually discover an account belonging to Malum. So I anxiously typed in his username, Malum6x3, into the search bar and pressed enter. And to my astonishment, I actually found it. We found Malum's Reddit account. So filled with more excitement than ever, I clicked onto his profile. And I didn't know it yet, but this is where things would become downright nightmarish. You see, at first everything seemed completely normal. Towards the beginning of Malum's posting history, he frequently posted on the Minecraft subreddit, talking about the game and his new survival world. I started a new world on a random seed, nothing crazy yet, got a little hill base going on and found the new cherry grove biome next to spawn, which is pretty sick. And he would continue posting about random stuff in the game, such as joking about how he hasn't played Minecraft in so long that he's forgotten how to play in post 2, and asking what the best way to find villages is in the 3rd. It wasn't until the 4th post that Malum said something that, at first, I brushed off. What's the best Minecraft server? Hey guys, what are some of your favorite Minecraft servers to play on? I used to play a lot with my friend Cole, but recently he's been busy and hasn't been on in a while. I used to play Hypixel a lot and it was always fun, but are there any others I should try out? Initially, I didn't think much of this post. Just Malum asking for some cool Minecraft servers to play on. He also mentions that he has a friend named Cole, but he's been pretty busy and doesn't have time to play anymore. Nothing seemed too off yet. Does anyone want to play any servers with me? Yo guys, I was just wondering if anyone would be down to join me or play any Minecraft servers with me, like Bedwars or something. Friend me on Discord please, it will be fun. This post was basically just an ad Malum put out to make some new friends. It's now pretty clear that Malum is feeling pretty bored and maybe even lonely, especially since his friend Cole hasn't had any time to be on recently. Malum's just looking for anyone that would be willing to play with him, and by this point everything seemed relatively normal, but things would soon become very dark very quickly. Why is my best friend ignoring me all of a sudden? Hey everyone, I have a problem. For the past couple of weeks my friend Cole has been ignoring me. Whenever I text him back, he leaves me on red, he never calls me back, he doesn't even want to hang out anymore. I don't know what I could have done, I don't know why he's mad at me. I haven't been able to talk to him since last week, and even then he just brushed me off and didn't really talk much. I'm trying to figure out if it's something maybe I did or what. I'm pretty disappointed about it, he's been my best friend since like 3rd grade, lol. Anyways, can anyone please help me? Thanks. Now this post was actually pretty sad. Malum says that his best friend Cole has been ignoring him for weeks, and he has no idea why. He wonders if he might have done something wrong to upset him, but nothing comes to mind. We can tell this isn't usual behavior from Cole just by the way Malum is describing it, so it really makes us wonder, why is Cole acting like this? Obviously intrigued with this drama, I continued on to the next post for answers, but somehow it got even more confusing. Update from my last post. Thanks to everyone who replied to my last post. Soon after posting it, I was finally able to get into contact with my friend Cole. I tried to ask him if he was mad at me for any reason, and if that's why he hasn't been answering me, but all he told me was no, and that he's just been really busy with stuff in his life. I asked what exactly was taking up all of his time, but he kinda just dismissed my question. We still aren't talking as much as we used to, so I don't know if he's just lying to me or he's annoyed or what's going on. But he probably is just tired since he texted me back late at night. Now, this post was even more puzzling. Malum said that he was finally able to get into contact with Cole, but he was still acting very off. Responding very shortly, not answering any questions. Why was Cole acting just so odd? It's clear that he's obviously trying to hide something from Malum, but what? Now, Malum did mention that Cole replied late at night, so he could have just been tired. However, I just don't think that's the case anymore. So hoping for some kind of explanation, I went straight to the next post. However, things only grew more perplexing. Do you guys think I'm just overreacting? Recently, my friend, Cole, hasn't been answering any texts or calls at all. I've been trying to reach out to him to ask him if he's mad at me or anything, and he just replies very shortly and curtly. This has been going on for at least a month at this point. I can tell something is wrong, and I don't know if it's maybe something I done or what. Am I just overreacting? If anyone has any thoughts on this, please let me know. Thank you. Malum then provided this screenshot of their text conversation.
Yo, Cole, what's up, bro? You haven't texted me back in a while. Everything good? Yo, Cole, you there?
Stop spamming me, please.
Oh, okay, sorry.
This post was unnerving. After a few months of not being able to contact his best friend, Malum finally got in touch with Cole, only to get a very short, almost passive-aggressive reply. Malum says he can tell something is wrong, but he just doesn't know what. So left with more questions than ever, I had to continue on to get to the bottom of this, but oddly enough, Malum actually took a 2-month break from Reddit before making its next post, the same exact amount of time as his break between episodes 2 and 3. And who knows, maybe it's just a coincidence, but something about it just doesn't sit right with me. Am I in the wrong for being furious? I don't even know how to explain it. I was just mad that Cole wasn't answering my text, but now I just feel, I don't know, off. Everything feels off. I'm still mad, but it's like, it doesn't even matter now. But it does matter. He wouldn't just ignore me like that, right? I just feel so angry and helpless, and I don't even know how to put it anymore. Am I wrong for being mad at him? Sorry. Now, this was incredibly odd. It's more obvious than ever now that Malum is becoming increasingly more affected by the fact that Cole isn't answering him. But why? Why is Malum just so angry? And why is he apologizing, saying he feels helpless? I feel like there's more to the story that we aren't seeing at the surface. Just why is Malum acting so peculiar? I decided just to continue right on to the next post before doing anything else to see where this was headed. Maybe I missed something. I don't even know what I'm doing writing this. It's not like it changes anything. I just keep thinking if I say the right thing or type it the right way, maybe it'll feel different. Maybe it will make sense. People keep saying stuff that doesn't help. Like they're trying to explain something they don't even understand, and I keep going over everything, like maybe I missed something. He should have texted or called. I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know how to feel right now. Maybe he just needed to get away for a while. Maybe he's just somewhere without service. At this point, it seems like Malum is just overreacting now, considering the fact that this whole reaction is simply just because his friend Cole hasn't texted him back. Who knows, maybe Cole has truly just been busy for the past few weeks and Malum is just being overdramatic. And this seems to be even more evident when you take a look at his next post, where Malum is still ranting about how furious and saddened he is by the fact that Cole hasn't talked to him. He's still acting over the top and even going as far as asking others if it's normal for him to be reacting this way. But that now leads us into an even bigger question. We still don't know exactly why Cole's not answering his phone, but just why is Malum reacting so intensely over it? I feel like each post we read just drags us further and further into the mystery, so I desperately clicked on to the next one. I needed answers. I'm going insane. I tried calling Cole 34 times yesterday. He didn't answer once. I don't know why I keep expecting a different outcome. It can't change. I call him, I text him, nothing. I don't even know why I do this anymore. I really don't. It seems that Cole not answering Malum's calls has completely ruined his life. Malum has been trying for months to get into contact with him now, and he fails each time. Malum even went as far as calling Cole a total of 34 times in a single day, but Cole didn't answer, not once. On one side of the story, Cole not answering a single call, let alone a message for multiple months is pretty absurd, but Malum's reaction to it is even crazier. And come on, it's not like Cole's dead or anything. He's just not answering his phone. Malum is completely overreacting. I can't keep it all in anymore. He's gone. He's gone. He did it. His cousin posted on his account. Cole killed himself. I don't even know how to process this anymore. I kept waiting for him to come back, like maybe he'd see my missed calls or texts and finally answer. And now, he never will. This is eating me alive. I should have done more or said more or been more. I don't know. I feel horrible. I just kept thinking about myself. How he didn't answer me. How he wasn't calling me back. I never thought about how he was feeling. Not once. If only I knew, I could have prevented it. I just wish I wasn't so selfish. This is all my fault. Cole is dead. I just couldn't believe it. This whole time, Malum's best friend has been dead. Cole killed himself. That must explain why Cole wasn't answering his phone at all. This whole time, unbeknownst to us or Malum, Cole was dealing with something much darker than we ever thought. Himself. And what's equally as sad is that Malum blames himself for all of this. I began looking back at all of his Reddit posts, trying to take it all in. And that's when I realized something even more depressing. From post number 9 and onwards, Malum knew that Cole was dead. He was just in denial. That explains everything. Why he said it doesn't even matter anymore, thinking that Cole must just be someone with no service. Why Malum said he's going insane. Malum has been grieving and we just didn't know. I went on to look at his posts for maybe any updates. Hopefully he's been healing from this, but what I saw was just depressing. Posts saying that Cole just cannot be dead and that Malum doesn't believe it. Begging Cole to come back, saying that he can't stop thinking about him. Malum even posted about how he hasn't been able to sleep for the past 5 days. He just stays up at night, thinking, taking it all in. And that's when I stumbled upon truly one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever read. I killed my friend. I think it's my fault. Maybe I made Cole angry. Do you think I made him kill himself? Sorry Cole, come back, please. Malum is still blaming himself after all this time. It's sad to see how much Malum is suffering from this, saying that maybe he made Cole angry and that's why he did what he did. I continued on to his next couple of posts. Maybe he's finally accepting it, but what I read was just tragic. No sleep in 8 days. I've not been able to sleep for 8 days. I'm awake all night, cannot do stuff anymore. My friend Cole, who is alive, is my best friend and invited me to his house. We're going to watch a movie. It will be fun. This was just devastating. Malum has been so crushed by the death of his best friend, so caught up in everything that he hasn't been able to go to sleep for the past 8 days, not even for just one night. It was horrible. It's painfully clear just how much the lack of sleep is unraveling his life. His posts have grown increasingly erratic, barely legible, flooded with spelling errors and broken grammar. And that's when I realized that he only made one more post to Reddit before completely vanishing, gone from the internet without a single trace. Cole is alive. Malum is still deep in denial with no escape. It seems with this grief, combined with the lack of sleep, has made him, quite frankly, go insane. It's truly heartbreaking to see how much anguish the situation has caused him. And then he disappeared. And now, for the first time ever, I finally understood why Malum suddenly vanished out of nowhere. He was grieving. And as I was looking back at his old episodes he posted to his channel, I came to a gut-wrenching realization. Remember how Malum would be playing in his Minecraft world, completely normal, but then, out of nowhere, would suddenly snap and just start sprinting in the opposite direction and act very strange? Well, I began looking back at each video one by one, hoping to maybe find some answers, a reason for this, and that's when it hit me. You see, in the first 2 episodes, Malum was normal. Nothing strange happened. He started his world, collected wood, mined for coal, iron, killed some animals. Everything was completely ordinary. But then, in episode 3, that's when everything started going downhill. And weirdly enough, episode 3 was uploaded after Malum's long break from the internet, April 7th, 2025. The same week Cole died. And episode 3 just so happened to be when Malum started acting different. It was around 3 minutes into the video. He was down in a cave looking for iron, nothing unusual. He mines what he needs and begins heading back up to the surface, but then he notices something out of the corner of his eye. Coal ore. He stops. He doesn't move, doesn't speak, just stares at it for 5 whole minutes, like something short-circuited in his brain, like he wasn't even in the game anymore. Could it be that somehow, some way that this coal reminded him of his friend Cole? It sounds insane, but I had to be sure, so I kept watching, episode after episode, and there it was. Every single time. In episode 4, when he's smelting dye for his house, he opens the furnace, sees the coal, and instantly clicks out of it, acting as if nothing had happened. Or later, when he's mining for diamonds, he accidentally uncovers a patch of coal and he runs full sprint, like he just saw something he wasn't supposed to. He even blocks the tunnel behind him like he's trying to trap something in or keep it from following him. Every time Cole appeared, he didn't just act like he was scared by it, he acted like he was being hunted by it. This one moment explains everything. Malum wasn't just going crazy for no reason, he was drowning in grief. Every time he saw Cole ore, it must have reminded him of his best friend Cole. Not just a name, but everything they used to do together. It dragged those memories back up to the surface, memories he clearly wasn't ready to face. That's why he always ran. He was using Minecraft as an escape, but even there, he just couldn't find peace. It was heartbreaking. He was just haunted by grief. He was trapped in it. That's why Malum vanished from the internet, only leaving behind one final video. It was a cry for help, a last-ditch effort. We may never know what truly happened to Malum following his disappearance, but wherever he is now, I just hope that he finally found peace. I wasn't meant to find this. I was just scrolling through YouTube in my bed late at night, about to fall asleep, but that was when something caught my eye. A random video in my feed. The title was pretty vague and the thumbnail low quality, but there was something about it. Something that made me click. And I didn't know it yet, but this video would quickly become the most terrifying thing I'd ever discover. A story filled with mystery, disturbing twists, and ultimately ending with a player losing touch with reality and going insane. But to understand how it all went wrong, we need to start at the very beginning, episode 1. The first of 9 episodes, titled A New Beginning, started like any other. The player, Softshell7, had just entered a survival Minecraft world and was eager to document his journey through YouTube. Hey everybody, I'm gonna be playing survival Minecraft and recording it to post to YouTube. Softshell then went on to mine a tree for some wood before pausing again and typing, "Oh, also please forgive me if I'm rusty. I haven't played Minecraft in a really long time." Saying that since he's now on summer break, he finally has some free time to play. He collected more wood, mined stone, crafted tools, and killed a few animals for food before stopping again. It's getting dark out now and there's so many monsters out here, so I'm gonna end the episode here. See you guys in the next. And just like that, episode 1 had already concluded, and right now everything seemed pretty normal. Nothing too unusual was happening yet. So I clicked right on to the second episode, titled Making a Little Progression. Episode 2 began fairly normal once again. Softshell7 started off the episode by greeting us, the audience, followed by then talking about his plans for the day. Hey guys, welcome back. I don't really have plans for this episode, I'ma just do what I feel. Afterwards, Softshell went on to collect even more wood, mine some coal, before pausing to mention an important detail. I forgot if I mentioned last episode, but this is actually not a single player world. It's actually my friend's server from a long time ago. My friend Mike made it a few summers ago, but that's when we had our big fight. Never mind. I'm not gonna get into that right now. Let's just keep playing. After talking about how he was actually playing on a server and not his own world, he would go on to spend the rest of the episode gathering more resources like coal and cooked food before accidentally falling off a cliff, ending the episode by saying, "I'm probably gonna end the episode here since I almost just died and it's night now. Alright, see you guys in the next episode." And just like the first episode, nothing too spectacular happened in this one either. But that would all quickly change in the next one, episode 3, plainly titled Building My House. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I think this episode I'm finally going to start building my house. It's been long enough and it will keep me safe from the monsters outside at night. Softshell7 then proceeded to show us some of the materials he'd gathered off camera in preparation for his base. And after chopping down a few of the trees in the way, he would finally begin construction. But this is where something actually weird happened. You see, Softshell's base was relatively basic, consisting of just 4 wooden walls, a cobblestone floor, chest for storage, furnace, crafting table, and would ultimately finish construction by crafting and placing a red bed. But after realizing that he somehow forgot the sand needed for his windows, would quickly leave his base and search for some. After wandering for a bit, he eventually stumbled upon a patch of sand embedded in a riverbank, jokingly saying, "That took way longer than expected." After digging it up, he would go on to say he thinks he has enough, and would then continue to travel back to his base. But this is where something incredibly bizarre took place. After a little bit, he eventually reached his destination, his home. But after walking back into his base, he noticed something pretty strange. What the heck? Oh, never mind. I thought I placed my bed. I'm so forgetful. Somehow, Softshell7 forgot that he never actually placed his bed, which by itself isn't that weird, but it becomes incredibly strange when you realize that Softshell did actually place his bed, just minutes before. Understandably, at this point I was pretty confused, but all I could really do was just continue watching the episode to see what would happen from here. But all Softshell would do was just craft a brand new red bed before jokingly saying that, "This is why I don't play when I'm tired." Soon after, episode 3 would eventually conclude with Softshell7 finally placing the windows in his house, with the episode ultimately ending with him saying, "I'm gonna end the episode here and go to bed in real life since it's getting pretty late. Good night, guys. See you in the next episode. And this episode was just weird. I think it's safe to say that there's probably only one question on most of our minds right now. That being, what happened to Softshell's bed? And initially, I had no clue. But after spending literal hours thinking about it, thinking of what could have happened, how could it happen, I honestly still didn't have a good explanation. The only thing I could think of is that maybe Softshell actually did break the bed himself and truly just forgot. And I mean, it's not that crazy of a theory. In the episode, we can clearly see that there are actually some cuts in the video, especially between when he left his base for sand and came back. Maybe he really is just that forgetful or plain out tired, like he said. And this theory develops even more credibility when you realize the fact that a lot of items he had in his inventory disappeared between cuts. He obviously did something off camera, and by all means, this isn't the best explanation out there, but it's truthfully all we have to work with. So now, pulled deep into this mystery, I continued on to the next episode, episode 4, titled Built a Wheat Farm. I had to see what happened next. And just like the title suggests, Softshell 7 would start off the episode by greeting us, the audience, before showing off his new wheat farm he built off camera. After giving us a quick tour of the farm, he then proceeded to tell us what his plans were for the episode. My plans for this episode is to make a little more progress and hopefully try beating the game pretty soon. And to be totally honest, I really didn't think anything too weird would happen this episode. Softshell then went on to explore a nearby cave in hopes of finding some more resources to gear up with. And surprisingly, after just 5 minutes, he actually had a pretty successful mining trip, coming across a little more coal, copper, and even a little iron. And now, more than happy with his findings, would finally begin heading back up to the surface. After eventually finding his way out of the cave, he began heading back to his house to smelt all his iron. But that was when something peculiar happened. You see, Softshell 7 was just outside of his base, about 10 or so blocks away from the front door, when out of nowhere, he whipped around as if he heard something. He began slowly looking around, as if he was hesitant, fearful of what he might find. And then, he froze. It just completely stopped in his tracks. And he would remain this way, completely still, not moving a muscle. There was a deafening silence throughout the air. But then, he would abruptly disturb this unsettling peace with a single message. What was that? A few more seconds of looking around before typing once more. I thought I heard something. Softshell would then continue to look back and forth a couple times before sprinting towards his comfortable base. Soon after entering, he would ultimately end this episode with one final message. Okay, I'm gonna end the episode here. And honestly, this episode was stranger than the last. Softshell was headed back towards his base after a decent mining trip when out of nowhere he suddenly froze, his whole body still, looking around cautiously as if he shouldn't have been, saying he thought he heard something before quickly running into his base and suddenly cutting off the episode. What could he have heard to cause this reaction? Up until this point, Softshell had been acting relatively normal. He didn't seem like the type of guy to just act bizarrely like this for no reason whatsoever. I feel like with each episode we just get pulled further and further down the rabbit hole. So leaving with more questions than we had answers for, I felt like I had to continue on to episode 5. We must find out what exactly caused him to act like this. And brace yourself, because what we eventually uncover is truly terrifying. Episode 5, bluntly titled Making an Animal Farm, began as usual. Welcome back to another episode. I made a little more progress since last episode. Softshell had actually done a little more mining off camera and made some decent progress, showing off his brand new iron chestplate, pickaxe, and even a few diamonds he found, 3 to be exact. He would then go on to put the diamonds away in his chest before stating his plans for the day. Anyways, my plan for this episode is to make a new animal farm, mentioning he needs it for more food since he's frequently been running out. Softshell then reaped the wheat from his farm to lure the animals back to his base. After crafting a few fences, he built a small pen to store the animals before going out looking for any animals to bring back with him. After exploring for a bit, he eventually stumbled upon a herd of cows and began slowly but surely bringing them back to the farm. But after just a few seconds, he would strangely enough, once again, freeze. This time looking all around himself, inspecting his surroundings for a fraction of the time, before seemingly snapping out of it, coming back to his senses to continue back to his base. After successfully bringing the animals back to the farm, he would breed them and then say he would cut back after he got more animals. After cutting back with tons of more cows, he would begin typing out a message. Before abruptly cutting himself off, closing the chat. He began looking all around himself once more, just like before suddenly running back into his house to continue on with what he was saying. Alright, I finished up the farm, I got loads of more cows, and I'm pretty happy with how the farm turned out. Before going on to say, anyways, I'm gonna end the episode here. In which afterwards, he would end the episode only after putting away his leftover materials back in the chest. Alright, bye guys. This was probably one of the most strangest episodes yet. It began fairly normal. Softshell showed off his new gear, collected his crops, stated his plans, but then soon after, things began to fall apart. Just as he was luring the cows back to the farm, how come he once again froze out of nowhere to inspect his surroundings, just like in the last episode? And it's not like these freezes are random. They always seem to startle him, but why? And until we get a better understanding of what exactly is going on, we really won't know the answer to that. I didn't want to hesitate any further. I needed answers. So I continued right on to the next episode, episode 6. And to put it frankly, this would soon become the most terrifying episode yet. Episode 6, titled Going to the Nether, began ordinarily enough. Softshell once again started this episode inside his base, just per usual, before mentioning that this episode he wanted to expand his wheat farm and try going to the Nether. He headed outside, and just as he said, began working on growing his wheat farm. After a couple minutes, he finally finished and headed back into his base after replanting all the seeds. Alright, I think it's time to finally go to the Nether. I'm gonna gear up a little more though real quick. On his way to the cave, he passed by his cows one final time before dropping down into the opening. After heading down the cave further and further, exploring every twist and turn, he eventually stumbled upon some iron, which would be used to make better tools and armor. Finally, I found some iron. After mining that vein and a few more like it, he decided it was time to finally head back up to the surface. I think I have enough iron now for armor and maybe a sword. I'm gonna go back up to smelt it and then we'll finally go to the Nether. And just as he stated, he began heading back up towards his base. What the heck? Oh. I think they all despawned. When Softshell 7 went back up to his base, he strangely enough found all of his cows dead. And although he just blames this anomaly on them merely just despawning, that just isn't the case here. You see, when a mob is left unattended and the player is far enough away, it will often despawn, completely deleted from the game. But here's the thing, mobs inside of a fenced area actually can't despawn. And even if, by some impossible chance, the cows had somehow despawned, they still wouldn't have left any drops behind. These cows have seemingly been slaughtered. But how could that be? What could have done who could have done this? Every answer only seemed to open 10 more questions, each one darker than the last. So consumed by the uncertainty, I had no choice but to dive straight into the next episode. We need to uncover exactly what's going on. And I really wish I hadn't been so eager, because this was by far the most bone-chilling episode yet. The 7th episode, titled Fixing Up My House, started out just like any other. Today I'm gonna keep it chill, probably gonna do some things around the base. He then stepped outside to tend to his wheat farm, just as a clear sunny day suddenly turned to rain. It was clear he's still pretty shaken up from the last episode, as seen in his slight pauses and constant glances around betraying a sense of unease. Using the wheat he just harvested, he went on to breed what was left of his cows before heading back inside his base. And initially, I thought that this would finally be a normal episode. But boy was I wrong. Now inside his base, Softshell unexpectedly began breaking all of his glass windows, punching them out with his fists, as if he was trying to keep himself from seeing out, or maybe keep something from seeing in. He proceeded to fill in the gaps where the windows once were with wood, before acting just as if nothing had happened, going on to say, I'm gonna organize a little and decorate as well. He stored some leftover farm materials in his chest, then crafted red carpet, slowly transforming his house into a cozier space. Ugh, I don't have enough. After coming to the realization he didn't have enough carpet to finish his floor, Softshell 7 crafted a new pair of shears to gather more wool. With his shears in hand, he started towards the door, with open air just ahead. What the F? What is this? Softshell had just accidentally uncovered what appeared to be a secret base beneath his house, revealed only after a creeper's explosion blew open the entrance. For a moment, he was just staring at it, in awe, as if he was hesitant to investigate any further. After a while, he eventually succumbed to the irresistible temptation to see what laid inside. He stumbled towards the pit and reluctantly crept down into the room. It began slowly examining everything inside, starting with the chest, which held a jumble of random items, including a boat, some wood, and exactly 3 diamonds, before quickly moving past the crafting table onto the furnace, which was still actively burning, cooking raw beef. He then shifted his gaze to the red bed in the corner of the cramped room, staring at it intently, frozen in thought. But then, without warning, he snapped out of his trance-like daze. He frantically began scrambling to cover the base, shoving dirt in every gap, his camera bouncing wildly as if his hands were shaking uncontrollably. He didn't leave a single spot uncovered, the earth packed all the way to the surface. When he finally finished, he whipped around a full 180 and bolted from the house, rain pounding on his head, mud and dirt squelching beneath his feet. He kept running away from his house, panic-stricken, as if something were chasing him. He didn't look back once. And that was when the episode abruptly ended. Obviously, after watching this, I was left completely stunned. And there's a lot to unpack here, so let's just jump right into it. Number 1, why was he constantly glancing around as if he was nervous about something? Number 2, what drove him to suddenly smash the windows in his base and barricade them with wood? And number 3, why on earth was there a hidden room lurking beneath his house, concealed from view? Let's just get right into the first question. Why was he constantly glancing around? Looking back at the previous episodes, we can see that every time he appeared alert or uneasy, he was always outside. Every single time. It was as if his home was his place of refuge. But as to why he was acting just so paranoid, I honestly don't know yet. That was until I began digging further. You see, after harvesting all the wheat from his farm, he cast one last quick glance over his shoulder before rushing back inside his base. That's when he began smashing all his windows and replacing them with oak planks. And at first, I thought it was just a design choice. But now, with more context, it's clear. He did this out of fear. He's scared of something peeking into his small sanctuary. But what? What is he scared of? Who is he scared of? It's obvious, those quick little glances, constantly scanning his surroundings, freezing for moments at a time to listen, they were all connected. Connected to why he smashed his windows and boarded them up. He was driven by a fear of something. And what that exact something was, we don't know yet. And how dare we even forget about that weird secret room hidden underneath his house? What was that? Who built that? At first, I brushed it off as nothing more than a coincidence. In the second episode, Softshell mentioned he wasn't in a single-player world at all, but on an old server his friend Mike had once hosted. So maybe that room had just been there all along, buried underground, and Softshell just happened to build his house right on top of it, by pure chance. So, mystery solved, right? Nothing strange about it. But the more I thought about it, the less sense that made. Because if that were true, then how do you explain the red bed? Identical to the one that mysteriously disappeared back in episode 3, sitting down there. And not just the bed, but a whole pile of other missing items too. Remember in episode 5 when he showed off the new gear he'd found while mining off camera? An iron chestplate, a pickaxe, and most importantly, exactly 3 diamonds? He stored the diamonds safely in a chest, but later, after returning home, he checked that chest again and they were gone. Just like that, The diamonds had completely vanished without a trace, leaving behind a perfectly empty spot where they had just been. By now, it's impossible to ignore. Something else is at play. It's not just Softshell 7 anymore. And whatever it is, it's horrifying. I mean, come on. The furnace in the mysterious room was still on, actively cooking food as if it had just been used moments ago. And yet, nobody was there. At least, nobody we could see. Something about it felt wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it. Just this uneasy sense that something was coming, though I really had no clue what. At this point, I hesitated, unsure if I even wanted to move on to the next episode. Every part of me was screaming no, but curiosity, or maybe something much darker, kept me from turning away. I ultimately decided I would quit. And I didn't know it yet, but this would prove to be my worst mistake so far. The moment I clicked onto episode 8, something immediately felt wrong. Maybe it was the title, strangely simple yet chilling. Everything is gone. But there was still this heavy sense of dread deep inside me. I didn't know why, but I forced myself to brush it off and keep watching. Hi guys, sorry for the last episode. I thought about it for a while and I'm gonna go back to my base. I was just being overdramatic. He tried to laugh it off, apologizing for what happened before. Then he added, I saw what everyone was saying in the comments. I want to apologize. The base under my house was probably just a glitch, I think. That's what you guys think too. Keep those comments in the back of your mind for later. They'll matter soon enough. After greeting the audience, Softshell proceeded to head back towards his base. And he didn't know it yet, but this would become his biggest mistake ever. He walked slowly, movement tense, still glancing back over his shoulder. He had been doing it for episodes now, but this time it felt heavier, like he was certain he heard something. When he finally arrived, he forced a joke, saying everything looked fine. I must fix my base up now. He replaced the broken blocks and made the place look whole again. For a moment, everything seemed normal, almost safe. But then he noticed his food was low. He turned to the furnaces, dropping in some raw beef and pork chops, waiting for them to cook. And then, actually, I'll just let it play out. What? What happened? I can't take it anymore. This isn't normal. This isn't real. I know it. Someone is watching me. Someone is here with me. I can't take it. Everybody says it's not true, but it is. I hear sounds. I hear someone. Something is there. I hear it. I see it. I feel it. It watches. I just cannot handle it. This isn't the last time. This isn't it. My house is gone. My house is gone. Everything. Why? But maybe what everyone's saying is right. It's not possible. I can't take it. Maybe they're all right. I'm losing my mind. This world, I'm done. I'm sorry. I just cannot. Every sound I hear, nobody else can. Everything I see, I just don't know what's wrong with me. Something is not right. I'm losing my mind. I really don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what to believe, myself or everybody else. Maybe they are right. They are right. Out of nowhere, his house caught on fire. One spark, and then it spread, racing across the wood until within just minutes the whole plot was engulfed, flames climbing, ash pouring into the air. And what came next would be one of the most bizarre yet oddly terrifying rants I've ever seen in my life. By this point, it was clear Softshell's paranoia had completely consumed him. Whatever was driving these outbursts wasn't just in the game anymore. It had worn him down piece by piece until he sounded like someone on the edge of losing himself entirely. He was, quite frankly, on the brink of insanity. And remember those comments I mentioned earlier? The ones he kept bringing up? He was actually talking about the ones left under his previous upload, episode 7. Comments such as,
"The way you act makes me think you're crazy. Dude, you are literally going insane."
What is wrong with you? You act as if you have schizophrenia.
and as harsh as those comments all were, the truth is, they weren't entirely wrong. By now, it really did seem like Softshell 7 had slipped off the deep end, consumed by paranoia, losing touch with reality. His movements, his behavior, even the way he reacted to sounds that simply weren't there. There was no doubt, he was losing his mind. This was just depressing, but sadly enough, it kind of explains everything. Seeing things that aren't there, hearing sounds that don't exist, moving erratically in strange patterns. Softshell 7 had been slowly unraveling throughout the episodes, going insane. These weren't just quirks or paranoia anymore, they were clear signs of hallucinations, the kind you expect in a full-on schizophrenic episode. And now, for the first time ever, everything began adding up. Softshell was simply falling apart. We now knew the root cause of everything. And as I was ready to finally go to bed, thinking the mystery was solved, I realized that there was actually one more episode, one we hadn't watched yet. So casually, I clicked, not thinking much of it. And I didn't know it then, but this story was truly only beginning. Episode 9, titled Moving On, once again started with Softshell apologizing to us, the audience. Sorry I haven't posted in a while, I just needed a break. I apologize for being so overdramatic. I see your comments and I'm sorry, I lied and disappointed you guys. Sorry about saying I heard sounds and saw things, it was all lies. It was a strange start. He wasn't just apologizing for the break, he was apologizing for everything. For being dramatic, for lying, for insisting that he heard footsteps or saw something in the corner of his screen. And the comments he mentioned, they were harsh. People had filled the last episode's comment section calling him a fraud, saying he was making things up for attention, accusing him of faking the paranoia. But the way he addressed it felt off. It wasn't the defensive tone of someone caught in a lie. It was quiet, almost rehearsed, like he was trying to convince himself as much as us. And that's what made it so unsettling, because if he really was lying, he wouldn't look so broken while admitting it. He sounded sick, restless, like someone trying desperately to cover up a crack in his own mind. I could tell that something was certainly off, but maybe now I was just thinking too much into it. So without a second thought, I let the video keep playing, hoping it would finally give us some closure, or at least a glimpse of the truth. This episode I'm just gonna keep it chill and hopefully build a new base far away. It was obvious, he was still clinging to those memories from the last episode, choosing to build his new house as far away as he could, as if he was trying to outrun what had happened. But little did he know, the past always catches up with you. I'm gonna look for a nice spot to build it. After exploring for a while, he eventually reached a cave where he paused. I'm gonna actually explore in here real quick, maybe I'll find some iron or coal. He decided to take a quick pit stop in a nearby cave, hoping to find some new materials after previously losing a majority of his loot in the house fire. And he didn't realize it just yet, but this would soon become his worst mistake ever. After entering the cave, he began following the natural path, leading him deeper and deeper down the cavern. After placing a torch on the wall, lighting up the vast darkness, he finally spotted a vein of iron ore jutting out from the rock. Eagerly, he stumbled towards it and began mining. But then, abruptly, he froze, jolting his camera slightly towards the left. And he just stood there, completely still, as if he was trying to make something out from the cave's suffocating shadow. But after just a few seconds, he stumbled back, pausing for a moment. And then, he whipped around and tore off, running for his life. His camera shook violently, jerking with every step. He sprinted, twisting back every few seconds as if something was chasing him. The cavern echoed with each frantic footfall, shadows stretching and flickering in the torchlight, swallowing every corner he passed. Between gasps and desperate strides, he managed to type a single panicked message. Holy shoot! He tore through the cavern, twisting and turning, the darkness seeming to close in around him with every step, as if the shadows themselves are closing in around him. And then, the video ended. This was terrifying. It all began normal, simply just greeting the audience, but then it quickly evolves to something much, much darker. Just why did he suddenly start running as fast as he could? What was he running from? Who was he running from? And this is when I came to a disturbing realization. This episode was the last episode he would ever post to his channel. No more videos, no more updates, nothing. He had seemingly vanished after posting this 9th episode, gone without a trace. I'll admit it, at this point I felt kind of hopeless. Without any more videos, we'd be going into this mystery blind. And that meant every answer we uncovered could be the difference between understanding or never knowing the truth at all. I hesitated for hours, unsure if I actually wanted to find the answer. But eventually, I made the decision. We need to find out exactly what drove him insane before he ultimately disappeared without a trace. And prepare yourselves, because this rabbit hole is only just beginning. I first started my investigation by looking to see if he had any other social media accounts. I checked on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. I checked on everywhere I could think of. But after searching for a while, I found nothing. And that's when I realized that if we actually wanted a chance at solving this mystery, we would have to dig a lot deeper than surface level. That's when it hit me. Maybe the answer was buried in his old episodes. If we rewatched every single one, frame by frame, maybe we'd catch something we'd missed before. It was a long shot, honestly. The chances of finding anything useful were almost zero. But we had nothing else left to go on. This was it. If this doesn't work, the mystery is over. Dead. So reluctantly, I went all the way back to episode 1 and pressed play. And at first, I didn't find anything. And that was the same case for the second episode as well. Everything was relatively normal, but that would all change in episode number 3. You see, remember in the 3rd episode when Softshell's bed suddenly went missing? Well, initially I just kept this in the back of my mind, thinking it was nothing more than a continuity error, a slight oversight. But that was until I saw it. Did you see it? After noticing he didn't have enough sand for the windows, he made his way down to the river to gather what he needed. But that's when he passed something. I took a closer look and realized something horrifying. These were invisibility particles. The same particles that show up when a player drinks an invisibility potion. At first, I tried to shrug it off, just the game doing its thing. Maybe a wandering trader had drunk an invisibility potion, or a witch was hiding from the night before. That's what I wanted to believe. But something inside of me still felt uneasy. I warily clicked onto the next video, episode 4, desperate for answers. This was the episode where he built the wheat farm. Nothing disturbing at all. So I began inspecting every single minute, every second. And that's when I saw it, something that only lasted a single frame. Here, you probably haven't spotted it yet. Well, let me zoom in. There is no doubt in my mind anymore. This is a player. And coincidentally, this is the same episode where he froze, claiming he heard something. Whoever it was, they were behind every strange noise, every odd thing he saw, taking his red bed, his diamonds, killing all the cows, the secret base under his home, even setting the house on fire. It was all them. And that's when I came to the most terrifying realization of them all. Softshell 7 wasn't actually insane. Everything he said was true. And what's even more depressing is that nobody ever seemed to believe him. All the comments were dismissing him, calling him crazy, always trying to find some logical reason to explain what's going on. And I can't blame them. I mean, we were doing the same exact thing. I kept going through each episode. Maybe there were more clues I'd missed, and that's where I saw it. In episode 5, while he's looking through his furnace, the same blacked out figure can be seen watching from the background. Or maybe in episode 6, when he's mining in a cave, there's an unmistakable black figure hidden in the back, blending in with the darkness. Episode 7, it's there again, watching as he tends to his cows. In episode 8, we can literally hear the click of the flint and steel as they light the house on fire. In each episode, it was there, always. Well, in every episode except the last. Episode 9. I watched the footage countless times, frame by frame, zooming in. But still, the figure didn't seem to be there. That is, until I tried brightening the image. They were there, hidden, watching, perched up on a rock. And this is what Softshell saw. This is why he ran. This is why he acted that way. It all makes sense now. And the saddest part is, he knew it the whole time, but every time he tried telling us, we all brushed it off, dismissing him as if he was going insane. Even in his own comment section, they were always trying to explain the unexplainable on every episode. For example, when his house burned down in episode 8, all the comments insisted it was just a lightning strike and that he was overreacting, despite the fact it wasn't even raining. The sky was perfectly clear that day. Comments such as,
I think your house was just struck by lightning. It's obvious you're going insane. Stop posting, maybe. Take a break.
You sound like a crazy man. Stop it. You are literally crazy. Keep this guy away from society. Your house got struck by lightning, bro.
The house was struck by lightning, Lamau. You think everything is some creepy, scary thing. It's funny, you are literally crazy.
one thing remained the same across all the comments on his channel. They always, without failure, called him crazy. Even on his final episode, the comments persisted.
Bro is running from nothing, scared, liar, and crazy.
This is so funny how crazy you are. You should be committed. What are you running from, hallucinations? Lol.
Now bro is hallucinating.
Running from air, liar, hallucinator. Stop it, Sam, now. You are crazy, man. You are going insane.
Wait a second. Stop it, Sam. Softshell never mentioned his name was Sam in any of his videos, not even once. And I made sure I checked each message he sent in-game, his bio, his username, but no, his name was not listed anywhere. And that's when I realized something disturbing. Whoever commented this must know Softshell in one way or another, and that's when I came across something even more unsettling. Every single comment on his channel came from an account with a first name, last name, and 3 random numbers. Every single one. Every commenter followed the exact same username format. So I started looking into these accounts, and that's when I discovered something truly bizarre. All of these accounts were all created on the same exact day. Every single one. Sophia Miller 247, Lucas Foster 117, Lily Adams 438, James Howard 376, Isabella Morris 734, Liam Cooper 193, Ava Mitchell 702. The list goes on. There were 20 accounts total, all made on the same date. It was more than obvious now. All these comments, all these accounts, they were all made by the same person. But that leads us into our next big question. Who? Well, and please just hear me out on this. It will all make sense. What if, somehow, some way, this person making all of these comments, calling Softshell crazy, was the same person who's been hiding in his world? And the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Every single comment always tried to explain the impossible, whether it was the red bed disappearing, all the cows dying, or even his house burning down. They always had some logical excuse, one that never really made any sense. One thing remained consistent. They always pushed the idea that Softshell 7 was imagining it all, hallucinating. They called him crazy. It's clear now, this was a front. The person in his world was covering their tracks, twisting explanations so Softshell would never suspect the truth. And once Softshell began catching on, they escalated, labeling him as insane, as if he had truly lost his mind. It was all a carefully constructed lie. But that now raises a new, chilling question. We now know the person hiding in his world causing all these impossible events is the same one leaving the comments, but just exactly who are they? And why'd they go to such extreme lengths just to make Softshell think he's losing his mind? I thought about it for hours, I couldn't even sleep that night. And then, it finally hit me. The moment they called him Sam. It all made sense. Whoever this is, they clearly know him in real life. And then I started thinking about who it could possibly be. And suddenly, it all connected. Every piece, every detail. Do you remember earlier in episode 2 when Softshell starts to explain that he isn't actually playing his own world, but a server? I forgot if I mentioned it in the last episode, but this is actually not a single player world. It's actually my friend's server from a long time ago. My friend Mike made it a few summers ago, but that's when we had our whole big fight. And I'm not gonna get into that right now. What if his friend Mike was the mysterious player, secretly watching him this entire time? What if this was Mike's version of revenge? We don't know the details of their fight, but maybe he'd been holding a grudge all these years. After all, it's Mike's server. He has full control. I mean, who else would be able to do this? What if his plan was to make Softshell 7 question his own mind, to slowly drive him insane, psychologically torturing him? And the most depressing part? Softshell 7 is still out there, somewhere, living with the anguish, believing he truly lost his mind. We may never know what truly happened to Softshell 7, or as we now know him, Sam, following his disappearance. But wherever he is, I just hope that he finally found some peace. Also, I just wanted to let you guys know that I just made a Discord server. The link's in the pinned comment. I'll be hanging out there and doing some cool events, as well as showing teasers for upcoming videos, so make sure to join that. Anyways, please like and subscribe, and thank you guys for watching.